Hello everybody, welcome to another Enigma Mode live stream. I'm gonna change things up, but today we're gonna be working on a kind of update to the boss chest tracking system. And I'll elaborate more into why it needs an update. But first, I wanna give you kind of some updates onto, like, Enigma itself, and this YouTube channel, and my life, and what I have to do. Basically, I gotta figure shit out because I'm not growing enough on YouTube to be able to focus on Valheim as much as I do. So for a while, I've been aware that I need to make more tutorials. That's really the only thing I think I can do that I feel confident might actually work. Okay, I make like 1 tutorial a week. I gotta make like 3. Maybe even 4. Like, it has to be a lot of videos because Valheim itself is really, really low demand analytically on YouTube. It is not a popular game at all. There are more people who resent Valheim than there are people who play Valheim. Most people have stopped playing. That's just how it is. Yes, there are new players, but as new players come, old players go, and ultimately you end up with a stagnant game that doesn't manage to retain the players who come back after updates. And I'm not going to elaborate into that, not going to get into all those details. That's just how it is. So here you go. We can look at this basically. This is my last 12 months on this YouTube channel. So, like, things are happening, but like for reference, the channel's not growing. Like, I'm just gonna be real with you. Like, look, here we can do a comparison. Whenever you look at like a channel on YouTube that is directly tied to a certain category, right? Then you can do something like this. We'll go to Google Chrome, not Google Chrome, Google Trends, that's right. Google Trends, and we want to look up just Valheim in general. So let's look up Valheim as a search term. What we're going to do here is we want to see, like, okay, worldwide, what is the situation with Valheim? Okay, so over the past 12 months, which is the same as this chart here, right? And do you get this weird screen tearing in the recording, or do you see it perfectly? I've always wondered about that, because I get this, like, screen refresh thing that doesn't work, but maybe you all just see it normally. Also, my chickens and hens are complaining in the background. Something dramatic must be going on, so I'll deal with that later. But for now, you can see that if we look at the past 12 months of Valheim as a game as a whole online, the peak of its popularity in the past 12 months was basically the last day of 2024 and the first week of January 2025. Since then, there was a low point in popularity. So for the summer, between June and July, half the peak moment was playing. Okay? 1 second. So let me just take 1 second. I gotta deal with this hen thing real quick. What is wrong? All right, I'm back. So this is important because whenever you're running a YouTube channel about something like this, you have to make sure that you compare realistically, right? Because what we're seeing here isn't just my effort in Valheim content. It's also the overall interest in Valheim itself as a category. The more people are interested in Valheim, the better my Valheim channel will perform. The worse, the less people are interested in Valheim, the worse my channel will perform. So there's also a correlation for things to work out for me when Valheim itself is not an interest, I need to be being really interesting. And for things to work out for me when Valheim is super interesting to people, I can just be normal. Make sense? I have to kind of fight against the trend or go with it. But the point is, you have to know, like when you're looking at these kind of analytics, you have to also check against the overall searched traffic for the game itself. That gives you a good sense of how much people are looking. So if we start with this frame in mind, then we should see a similar shape on the YouTube channel. We should see more interest in the first half and then less interest in the second half. So we can just look at my YouTube analytics here, and we actually do see that same pattern. We have more interest here in the first half, less interest here. There is a slump that goes down here. It goes down below this line, right? That's the slump. And then there's a bit of a up here, right? So there's more interest, it slumps down, and then it goes back up a little bit. We compare that to the Google Trends thing, we see more interest, slumps down, goes back up. So essentially, what we see here is that I run a channel that maintains interest. It doesn't really grow. It doesn't really not grow. It just kind of stays how it is. So when Valheim's doing better, I'll get a little bit more viewership. When Valheim's doing worse, I'll get a little bit worse viewership, right? But like, you can see that there are times, like here for example, I broke through that, right? Got like 3,000 something views in one day, and you know that's legit because it also gives you extra of other things, right? So we also have a subscriber peak there, watch time peak, view peak, etc., right? That was because of Call to Arms update coming out, and I just happened to make a video about Enigma Mode at the exact same time, okay? But my point here is that I've been working on this, and like, I guess I should be real with myself, because while it's true I've been running a YouTube channel, I haven't really been focused on the YouTube channel full-time, have I? No, I've been focused on developing Enigma. I had this sense that, I don't know, like, I would be able to earn more from YouTube by making Enigma, but it's not that simple because Enigma videos aren't what is relatable to new people. Make sense? So basically, for this whole 12-month period of time, I was doing like between 4 and 10 tutorials per week, or sorry, per month, right? So consistent effort on my part, but all it's done is just match pace. I don't grow, like, to be honest. And even because of my subscriber situation, because I used to make dropshipping content and I got 20,000 dropshipping subscribers, those are like, I still have a lot of subscribers who want dropshipping content, but I've long since stopped doing that, right? So my subscriber growth is very odd. I actually lose subscribers a lot because I'm losing the old dropshippers. So yeah, sometimes I lose a Valheim subscriber, but that's normally not what's actually happening. Normally what's happening is I'm losing one of the 20,000 dropshipping subscribers I had. And you should have seen when I first started. I don't even have when I first started. It's not in here anymore, is it? But like literally, like when I first started making Valheim content, every video would make me lose subscribers. Like, but in my head, it was like, it was a good thing. I wanted that because I didn't want Valheim. I didn't want drop shipping subscribers anymore. I need to convert the people into something that actually matters and doesn't make the world a shitty place. But as you can see, like, that's why the situation with this channel is a little bit odd because of that. And I know people want to talk about the algorithms and all these things and channels and changing topics. Look, it doesn't matter. This is how YouTube works. If you make videos that people like watching, you will grow. If you make videos that people don't like watching, you will not grow. Okay? It's that simple. You don't need to worry about, oh, the algorithm this, algorithm that, shorts, whatever. That's all complicated nonsense. All that really matters is you're doing stuff that is relevant to people. They're enjoying your content. That's it. That's all that actually matters. So clearly, like, what I'm doing on YouTube isn't working. Like, it's not growing. I'm maintaining pace, but that's it. Even this, like, $1,500. I mean, that's awesome. That's for a whole year. You know what I mean? And, like, if you think about the amount of hours, oh, it just goes to show that's why people don't do YouTube, right? That's why to do YouTube, you have to be privileged. You have to be able to not get enough and still keep going, right? It's a game of the privileged peoples, because you need to be able to survive the hard times, and most people can't survive the hard times, right? So I find myself in a situation where normally this wouldn't matter, because what I care about, what I really enjoy, is this stuff. I love developing. I really, really enjoy developing and scripting in Valheim. Like, that has not changed at all. I love it. Like, literally, I can't stop. There's no doubt in me that this is what I should be doing. Developing Enigma. Like, my passion for Enigma itself is exactly the same. If anything, it's even more than it ever was before. I don't lose interest in that kind of thing. The problem, though, is that the reason I can develop all the time on Enigma is because I have a day job and I run a YouTube channel. My day job alone doesn't pay me enough for my life, but with YouTube as well and the day job and Patreon, it's almost there. Like, it's really, 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 really close, right? So essentially what's happening is this wouldn't matter normally, right? Because I don't really, like, if I can just develop Enigma, I don't really need my YouTube channel to get bigger, because I don't really mind. I like making videos when I feel like I don't have to make them in order to be relatable, and you know what I mean? But that's life. You gotta work, you gotta do things you don't want to do for money. Everyone has to accept this reality, right? So, like, I get it. But what I gotta figure out now, the nut to crack, so to speak, is like, how do I change and shift my YouTube channel so that it grows a little bit more, so that I can focus on what I really want to do, which is develop stuff in Enigma mode. Because, like, well, yes, it's true, Enigma makes me happy and I want to develop it, I want to spend all my time developing. If I spend a whole month just developing Enigma, I have nothing. I don't get any money, I have nothing. Like, I can't do that. So I've always had to balance YouTube and Enigma and these things together to allow myself to be able to work on things a lot, right? But now it's a matter of figuring out, like, all right, I'm not making enough tutorials. It could be that even if I made more tutorials, there's just not enough demand for Valheim. Maybe. I don't know, though. I'm pretty sure, because I've seen, like, Snazzy's channel. I've seen other Valheim channels that get a lot more viewership than I do. There are Valheim channels that get, like, hundreds of people who watch them when they live stream. So I'm pretty sure that people are there. It's just my own failure to be relatable to those players. Make sense? And, like, live streams and development live streams, these things are never going to be relatable to people. That's fine. But at the same time, I see how fundamentally important these live streams are to connect with my audience, to talk to you guys, get to know you better, and also to develop Enigma. So the live streams are really important, but the live streams themselves don't grow the YouTube channel. If anything, they actually hurt the YouTube channel's growth. And that's simply because people have limited amounts of time, and in general, if you're live streaming all the time, they get burned out, they stop watching your live streams, and maybe will also stop watching your normal content. Most people will just ignore the live streams and watch the normal content, you know, that kind of thing. But, you know, I gotta rework things. I gotta figure out how to make this work. Because for me, for this to work, basically, for me to be able to confidently keep working on Enigma, this number needs to be kind of trending up. Makes sense? Like, this $100 a month or 110 or whatever it is needs to be closer to 200. If it's 300, then I'm set. Like, literally, it's so little money. Like, I know it's possible, but it's just a matter of like accepting the way I am and how I spend my time and what I do. And like, I have to be careful with the live streams basically, because what I can tell, and this is the same thing that happened earlier, is that when I live stream, it kind of uses the same energy that would make a tutorial. So if I'm not careful, I can do like a 6-hour live stream and then I don't make a tutorial because I did that. Or maybe even worse, I don't make 2 or 3 tutorials in that amount of time that I might have made normally. So to not keep beating around the bush, ultimately what this means is I have to live stream less. So instead of doing Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I'll change my schedule to be Tuesday and Thursday. And then that should enable me to be able to push out 3 tutorials a week. Because it's completely possible that things will be fine if I keep making enough tutorials. It's not like I've been making 3 tutorials a week and the channel isn't growing. I've been live streaming regularly, but as I mentioned, live streaming doesn't grow a YouTube channel. That may seem counterintuitive, but it just doesn't. Live streaming is something that you can do the more popular you are, but live streaming won't make you popular. It doesn't cause growth, okay? You have to kind of already be popular to get benefits from live streaming. You can't live stream to grow. You have to make tutorials or YouTube videos that are just like more normal content in order to grow, okay? So it could be that it's just me not making the tutorials. I gotta figure that out, and the only way I can figure that out is by actually making the tutorials. So, like, that's the thing. I don't really know how to bridge this gap, because I've been aware for a long time I need to make more tutorials. But then I keep trying to make more tutorials, and then I don't end up making more tutorials. But then I'll have like a day where I'm in the right mood, and in 2 or 3 hours, I record 5 videos, and then boom, in one day, I schedule all the content out. Like, I don't know how to make that happen. That's the thing. It's so tricky. And so, like, what I'm thinking now is maybe I'm still live streaming too much, even though I have limited it. I do it for like 2 hours at a time, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. That doesn't seem like an intense schedule. Especially compared to normal live streamers. That's nothing. It's like 6 hours, you know what I mean? But maybe that's too much for me. Maybe it intimidates me and then I don't work. I don't know. I don't know what to say about it, to be honest. But so my new schedule will start next week. And that's when I'll focus on doing a live stream on Tuesday and a live stream on Thursday. But it's not just the schedule for the live streams. I'm also going to change the kinds of live streams that I do. Before I was focused, I had this notion that I need to like live stream playing, but now I see that like I don't need to do one thing or another thing. I need to do the work that is relevant for me and live stream it. Make sense? Because if I have to play, then I have to do that in addition to the other things I have to do. And if I have to develop for every live stream, but I wasn't developing that week, then I have to develop for the live stream in addition to whatever I was already going to do. So here's my plan. I'm just going to do live streams about the stuff I'm already doing anyway. Sometimes it'll be playtesting, sometimes it'll be developing, right? Like this week I scheduled it with that in mind. I was like, okay, these are 3 things I'm going to work on. So I'm just going to schedule each live stream around that thing and then work on it. Okay? But as you can tell, I mean, you know, I'm continuing to go, and then boom, look at it now. Like, it works to a point, right? Hey! Sorry, whenever I see a comment, I always forget what I'm saying. It's kind of funny. So I totally derailed myself there. I apologize. Welcome, Power of Truth. Welcome. Power of Truth said, well, shoot, G-Rock offered to run a free server just for Enigma Mode, as long as I would admin the game in Discord. Hey, that's really cool. I mean, I'm not stopping Enigma Mode, just so you know. Like, what I'm talking about is my journey on YouTube, if that makes sense. So, like, I have absolutely no, like, developing Enigma is what makes me happy, and it's what makes me feel like I'm working towards my future where I develop video games. The lessons I learn from developing Enigma and managing the players and dealing with mechanics and communicating mechanics to players and players' expectation, these are like the gospel of game design. They are so important. So I just want to be clear. I'm not stopping Enigma. I'm just trying to grapple with the reality that like I can't work on Enigma all the time because I need money. You know what I mean? And I'm in a situation where I don't need much. So probably I'll be able to figure it out, but I need to accept that like I need to kind of put Enigma aside for a bit and focus on YouTube tutorials specifically, not live streams, tutorials, right? And like ultimately, I mean that's fine. That's not a big deal, right? But just to be clear, I'm not stopping development. I'm not canceling Enigma. I'm not going to do something like that. But I mean, you get it, right? Time, just like Power of Truth said, time to do anything extra. Yeah, and especially managing a server. Yeah, it can be really time consuming, especially like there's certain kinds of problems, certain kinds of players that will ask for a lot. You know what I mean? In general, like people on Path of Magic are awesome, to be honest. I don't really feel like there's certain players who make problems for me. I make problems for myself. And then the players find those problems that I made, right? But sometimes when you run a server, yeah, there's certain kind of players who are very like they need a lot and they always like every time something goes wrong, they want you to log in and fix something for them or whatever, and then they get mad at you, and those are like I call those high maintenance players, and I've only seen like 2 of them and it was a long time ago. So, I'm not really concerned about it these days. So, let's see. I'm curious, Power of Truth, what to be honest, if someone's gonna play Enigma Mode, like the next one that I haven't released yet is made to be replayed. So, like right now, to be honest, if any of you are listening and you're like thinking about playing Enigma, but you haven't gotten into it yet, I would actually encourage you to wait. And that's only because right now, like this version I have right now that I'm working on, is way more replayable than the previous version. And the main reason for that is because it doesn't have center starting meadow. So what I've learned, and I know I've talked about this over and over again, so I won't babble too much, but basically Valheim almost always starts in something like this, which guarantees the first, let's say, 10 to 15 hours of gameplay. It's always going to be the same. Maybe you'll be close to a mountain. Maybe. Probably not. Probably you're going to see meadows. You'll explore a little bit, get Black Forest, and then you got to learn to sail to find, you know, the swamp or whatever it is, right? Whereas the moment you change Start Temple, you can play on the same seed, and you start on a different island every time, right? So we could start here on this start, right? Which is crazy. I mean, look at this thing. Have you ever started in a meadow with plains and half of the continent is a swamp that you know damn well is full of iron? Look how big that swamp is. There's definitely iron in that swamp. Like, what a crazy start. And that's just one island, right? There's so many different places you could start in the new Enigma mode, even if you're using the same server that you already play on. For example, you might start over here, right? On a half plains, half meadows, kind of more islandy area, closer to sailing, you know? Or you may start on a bigger continent. You may start right here, right? You got swamp, Black Forest, mountain, and plains within like a spear's throw, right? Like imagine spawning, like starting like right there. You know what I mean? There's everything nearby. You got a big plains, and it was a big difference, to be honest. Like that alone makes it more replayable. And like the tangent I just went on is that prior to this, prior to Enigma Mode 2 or Enigma Mode 2.0, I had this mentality of I need to make it last as long as possible. Persistent worlds, right? Now my mentality is, yes, I love persistent worlds, but I need to accept that most players do not use persistent worlds. Most players play, they lose interest, they stop, and then when they play again, they make a new world. So I should accommodate them, not force them to try and do it the way I want. So that's why in Enigma Mode 2, there's changes so that it is different every time you start. That way, whether you want to use it to have a long, persistent world and you go through all the progression, you could do that. But maybe you just want to have a Valheim experience where you can build from the very beginning that's a little bit different than what you're used to with more biome diversity. You can restart from the beginning and have that experience there. You know what I mean? So, in general, I think there's a lot that can be done so that no matter how you play Valheim, you can have fun with Enigma Mode, whether you want to have a long server, a shorter server, whatever, right? The idea is to make Valheim more Valheim. Make the best parts of Valheim longer and the worst parts of Valheim shorter, you know? That's the idea. Welcome, Fish. Hello. Hope you're doing well. And I've been yapping a bit about logistics and YouTube. Basically, I'm changing my schedule. So instead of doing 3 live streams and attempting to make tutorials, but only making one, I'm going to do 2 live streams. And the subject of the live streams will be different. So before it was focused on like a playthrough, but then I see that this makes it like end, essentially. And I need it to be something that's flexible, that changes, and I'm reliable, like always available on this day and that day. It doesn't have to be a lot, you know, but it needs to be reliable. So I think 3 days a week is just a teeny bit too much. And so I'm hoping that by changing it to 2 and by making it more flexible, that way more of my energy will go into making tutorials. Because basically what happens now is that planning the live stream and sticking to what I claim the live stream will be about consumes the energy that then would go into making the tutorial, if that makes sense. So by making less live streams, I free up some of that tutorial making energy, let's call it. But not just by making the live streams less, also by what I do in the live streams. So moving forward, they're gonna be more development focused. I will do playtesting, but like, okay, today we're playtesting this mechanic. Not like, okay, I'm starting from the very beginning, playing the game to get the, you know, I'm gonna have those experiences. I'll do playthroughs sometimes, but I think, to be honest, the format of me trying to playtest as a normal player and narrating and speaking and being inclusive of people, it simply just doesn't work with playing Valheim. Like, if I'm gonna be honest, it just doesn't. I struggle to actually do that. Make sense? Welcome, Crumbs and Handy and Morning. Welcome. Hey, thank you. I appreciate that. So basically, the idea now is that by making the live streams more about development and things that I'm actually working on, I'll then be able to keep the benefits of interacting with you all and being able to chat and being able to share these things, right? I'll be able to keep these benefits while also being able to still playtest a little bit. The thing is, I need to free up that cognition so that I can make those tutorials, right? That part's really, really important. So by freeing up the tutorials, or sorry, by making the live streams less focused on playing in a certain way, I free up my energy because now I don't need to maintain a playthrough. I don't need to play in between live streams to organize chests. I don't need to set up what I'm going to live stream. I don't need to think about that. I can just live stream what I'm already going to be working on. Make sense? So just to reiterate one more time, and then I'll get into development. Welcome, everybody, by the way. Thank you. Thank you very much for hanging out here. I got all emotional in Discord and then got sad, but now I got a plan. Sometimes, you know, you got to break down and feel sad to feel motivated to do something new. So I appreciate everybody being here. That's funny timing, actually. So essentially, what's happening? There's going to be 2 live streams, and they're going to be development focused about Enigma Mode. Sometimes I'll be playtesting. Sometimes I'll be talking and brainstorming. Because what I noticed is, like, talking to you guys and listening to people and throwing these ideas around, it then puts me in a perfect position to then develop, right? But if I try and play while I'm live streaming, I can't play because I have to keep talking. And it's like, I can't do stuff. Like, I can't function. It's hard to fight. I can't really enjoy Valheim if I also have to narrate while I'm doing it, which is what I have to do if I'm live streaming. So probably I won't be playing Valheim normally and live streaming anymore. I'll be doing stuff like this, where I'm talking about development or making plans or brainstorming things, or maybe playtesting a certain mechanic. Like the other week with the playtesting of the monster behavior package. That was really fun. That's the kind of thing I'll be doing more. So now that I've gotten all that out of the way, you know the logistics, you know things are changing on my YouTube channel. I got to pivot more to tutorials. Live streams will be development. They'll be 2 days a week on Tuesday and Thursday. All right, that's all clear. Now can focus on the actual development thing for the day. And also welcome Demo and Sarah and Versa and Captain Crumbs. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's funny. It must be very confusing actually for you guys listening. Like, what do you think I'm talking about? Like, you know what I mean? It's like, it's really funny. But today, what we're going to be working on is the development of the boss chest system. In Enigma mode, the progression is totally changed. But something I've learned that players need a linear system. They need a clear framework of what to do when they start playing the game. Later on, that thing doesn't matter anymore. But when they first start, when they're new, they need a clear, linear system that they can wrap their brains around so they feel like they know what to do. And then as they go off on that journey, you distract them and make them completely forget about it with a really good, enjoyable game. Make sense? So, yes, Handy, we are developing mods. Well, sort of. Using scripting. It's like light modding. It is modding, but you don't code, you don't work with the DLLs, you just use script files. So first off, let's talk a little bit about boss chests. Because in classic Valheim, you have your progression. You kill the Eikthyr, you do the meadows, yay! Now you got the pickaxe. Now you gotta go to the Black Forest. You go to the Black Forest, you get the Elder, yay! Right? Etc., etc., etc. It's very the same every time. No matter what Valheim seed you have, you start in a meadow, you kill Eikthyr, and then you go try and find a Black Forest, and then you kill Elder, and then you try and find a swamp, and then you kill Bone Mass. It's the exact same experience in every single seed. The seed just gives you some slight differences in what direction you sail into, how long you sail for, and maybe if you're lucky you don't have to sail as much because you're on a big continent, right? And you're right, Captain Crumbs, it is Expand World Prefabs. So what I'm getting at is that there's a progression system, right? Vanilla Valheim has a boss progression system. There's loads of problems that this makes, because basically you have a wonderful world creation engine that is incredible, produces a big world with lots of different biomes and all sorts of different stuff, and then you have a linear boss system that makes players do the exact same things in that world. So you see what I'm getting at? It kind of has a way of invalidating itself, so to speak. So that's something we want to tackle with Enigma Mode. What I've learned is that people really need that. So as much as I dislike the boss system, people need a clear understanding of what to do next. So in Enigma, we replace killing boss with boss chests. All right? So basically, you'll start Enigma, and then you're like, hey, all the boss stones are gone, and then these crazy paths. All right, big deal. That's surprising. Then this will happen. You will be playing on no map. because Enigma makes it no map. I just have it up because it's developing, right? So then it turns and you look at the stone, basically. And there's a stone on this island, as we can see. It's just right over here. So let's imagine we're a player. We joined for the first time. We saw the crazy stuff that happens in the beginning. And we want to progress. We're going to do what people do in Valheim. They're going to try and kill Eikthyr. So they're going to run over here. And then as they get close, that's going to happen. And at this point, the player can see this chest, and it says, okay, you need to do 100 wood, 30 flint, boar trophy, and a neck trophy. Boom. There you go. But the player is going to ignore this chest because they're like, why would I do that? I can just summon deers and kill Eikthyr because he's super easy. He's a boss you can kill with a crude bow on day 1 in the Valheim world. Yeah, if you do that in Enigma, Eek's going to just gank you. You can't kill Eikthyr. You have to do the boss chests. But already, there's some issues here. Because the player needs to know that this is the thing you do. You do the boss chests. That's how you progress. This is kind of weak right now. As I mentioned, the player needs a clear path to walk upon. And while, yes, there are these very literal clear paths, in that case, I meant it metaphorically. The player needs to feel like, okay, I did the Eikthyr boss chest, now I'm going to go do the next boss chest, and then I'm going to do the next one. They need that linear sense of progression, otherwise, only a certain type of player can have fun. It's the same reason that a lot of people have trouble playing RuneScape at first, because you join RuneScape and it's like, oh, there's just like a billion things to do. How do I pick one? I'm going to leave. Like, people have that experience, right? And Captain Crun said, yeah, that's why we have, or why so many, sorry, let me rephrase here. That's why so many have problems with Minecraft, for example. There's no clear path for them to, hey, exactly what I was just saying about with RuneScape. Exactly. People need kind of they need to be guided, but in a way where they're going to fall off that guide and get immersed. And then forget that the guide even existed, right? So the angle we're going for in Path of Magic is these boss chests. That's how people progress without killing the bosses. And there's a lot of benefits for this. The biggest benefit is that it takes the world from, like, the whole world changing to just you as the player changing, right? Because if you kill Moder, or if you kill Yugluth, the whole world has goblins in the meadows now, right? I don't like that. I want it to be like, you kill Yugluth, you get something, but it doesn't change the world you're playing in. You know what I mean? So that's how this works. It's a lot easier to deal with people having an individual quest, so to speak, where their individual quest is to collect certain progression items. So you can imagine that, like, as you get later on in the game, the chest is harder. Instead of collecting wood and flint, you have to collect, you know, like black metal scraps or goblin trophies or whatever it is. You know what I mean? And shenanigans, it's true, not if it's set to player-based raids, but oh, actually no, I think goblins still happen on player-based raids. Player-based raids only determines the raid outcomes. I do not believe it ends goblins spawning in the meadow. Maybe you're right. Maybe it does. But I'm actually... Okay, let me put it this way. If the player-based raids world modifier does block goblins spawning in the meadows, that was changed at some point. Because it didn't used to do that. Which boggled my mind. I don't know. Why would you make the player-based raid modifier and still leave goblins in the meadows when what? Like, you see what I mean? Like, you would think they would make it that way. That would make a lot of sense. So I'm assuming it was just an oversight on their end. You know, I don't know. I don't know how that works, to be honest. But definitely, definitely probably is better if there aren't goblins in your meadow because some other player killed Yugluth. You know what I mean? Definitely problematic. And so, oh, let me look at these comments real quick so I don't get behind here. Okay, so all right. So Barba Willow said you need objectives that give you the bait to progress through the world. Yeah, exactly. It's like they need sort of a guideline, and mostly in the beginning, to be honest. Like I've noticed in myself, at least, like as a player, now I can play Valheim. I can play any way. I can try and do anything. I don't need any guidelines. But that's because I've put thousands of hours into the game, right? I'm not a new player anymore. I'm interested by challenges and random things and curiosities, not by like beating something, right? But when you're a new player, it's so important. Those rails, they're so important. Without them, the new player just leaves before they realize they haven't done the thing that is fun. Make sense? So I completely agree. It's definitely something that is important. And like, yeah, like Handy said, so like Skyrim, go kill Big Andrew. Yeah, you go kill the dragon, but on the way you get distracted by something else. Yeah, exactly, exactly. Skyrim's it's a good game to compare that to because those games in general are huge and there's loads of things that you can do, and you can even just completely ignore the main quest, right? But you don't have to, right? That's a great comparison because it's like imagine if it didn't have that main quest line and you just had to figure out what to do and you just spawned as like a random character in the game world, not a prisoner with some story. Like that's kind of how Valheim is. So honestly, it sounds kind of cool if you would just spawn as a random character in the Skyrim world and then you live there. Like, you know, I actually think that would be really cool. But I was trying to make a point that would discredit my argument, and that didn't work there. Ended up sounding interesting. So let's see, I gotta scroll back down here a little bit. There we go. So then Crumb said, Skyrim is nuts if you think about it. There's like 3 main quests, and the game does everything it can to distract you from them. Yes. Exactly, you get it, you get it. It's a perfect way to think about it, really. But so, let's just illustrate this real quick. What I need to do now, all these boss chests are already set up, right? This one's actually mislabeled. See, it says 100 wood and 30 flint. That's actually wrong. It is... I changed it because it takes forever to get a neck trophy and a boar trophy. It ended up being a huge grind to do everything. So instead what we're going to do is we're going to show how a boss chest works just in general. So let's imagine I'm a player. I got all the stuff. And it's asking me for a boar trophy and a neck trophy. That's just because I forgot to remove this text. It's actually looking for 200 wood and 30 flint, I think. So if I close the chest, there we go. It'll be like, boom, it completes it. And then what do you get? You get the chest of Ether. And as you can see, yeah, the Ether boss chest in Enigma mode gives you dragon tears. Let's just act like that's not there for now. That's a whole other subject that I will go on a long tangent about if I start talking about it. Instead, I just want to show you this mechanic, right? You get it, right? You find a chest at the altar of the boss. The chest itself tells you what to get. Usually it tells you the right thing. And then when you put the stuff in the chest, you get a reward that includes the progression items of that boss, plus some extra goodies. And in this case, the motor tears. Yeah, I want people to have... Okay. Every time I play Valheim, I feel like I have to rush to kill Motor to build what I actually want to build. So I want a version of Valheim where from the very beginning of the game, you can build, you know, a spinning wheel. You can build a windmill if you find the iron. You can build, you know, all these other things. I find that the game's deeper that way. Like, yeah, if you haven't played before, maybe it's better to stagger everything out and take forever. But in my mind, that's like tutorial Valheim. It's not really as rich as when you get to play Valheim from the very beginning. And like, you can build all the advanced stuff. You can find the other building materials. It solves this problem that vanilla Valheim has, where by the time you get to the cool stuff, you're burned out from playing and you don't feel creative anymore and you stop playing, right? So that's why like a lot of people in actual gameplay sessions don't build with Ashwood and Growston, because by the time they get access to Ashwood and Growston, they're burned out. They've beat the game. They don't want to play anymore, right? This is a way to work around that so that from the very beginning, we have more building options. But that is a tangent. Not trying to get into that. I'm trying to explain this boss chest system, right? But imagine like you're a new player. You don't know. You don't have someone to talk to. You don't necessarily know. It's not really that clear, right? And so the actual thing I'm developing is a tracking system. So let me look at that real quick, because if you just see it once, I think it'll help you understand. Which script is this? It's in the boss script, I think. Tombs variants. Okay, let's do it this way. We're gonna search for boss chest, maybe. Ah, yeah, here we go. Okay, we need... Ah, yeah, here it is. Okay. This is what we're doing. So, basically, every time someone joins, I want them to see how many boss chests they've done. As soon as they log in, they see it immediately. And every time they leave and come back, they'll see it again. I want there to be an easy, obvious mechanism to visualize how much progress the player has made in Enigma mode. Make sense? So here we have a very, very simple thing here. Look at this. See those dots at the top of the screen? I can make them show up when a player logs in. I can change their color. I can make them more opaque. I can do a whole bunch of things here. So I think what I'm going to do is have it be like, all right, you log in and you see these dots. Yeah, this is just a prototype. May look different, maybe somewhere else, but you'll be able to understand the idea. You log in and you immediately, when you log in, you see the dots. They're there for a bit, maybe like 20 seconds or whatever, and then they mysteriously just vanish and go away. You don't know what the dots do. Make sense? But then, after you kill, or after you, let's say you find the Eikthyr boss chest, right? So as you saw, we found this boss chest. We visited it. We opened it, right? So, even though the dots started all black, now, let's imagine that, yeah, this one here, let's make it like this. So we found the boss, but now, oh, what's that? It's not super clear to a player, right? At first, they're going to be confused by it, but I've learned that sometimes that's actually a pretty good thing, to be honest. If they feel that if they feel compelled to figure out what the mystery is, right? So basically the dot, it'll start like black or dark, and then once you find the boss chest, it'll become white. That's like, okay, you've started the quest, so to speak. Make sense? And then once you complete the boss chest, then, I don't know, it'll become like, let's just say this is Eikthyr, so we're going to make him make a green icon or something like that. And then it'll turn green, okay? I don't know what the actual color scheme is, but now you see like the basics of the idea. You join, and then you get these dots. There's as many dots as there are bosses in Valheim. And as you complete each boss chest, that dot will change into something else. And I know this sounds really simple, but I'm pretty sure this will help give players enough of a framework to kind of feel more interested in doing the boss chests. Because the boss chests themselves are actually quite an important part, to be honest. Like, if I show you real quick, let's go into the pool side here, and then we go to boss chest rewards. You can look at the rewards for each boss chest, and as you can see, they're actually... This one we just saw already, right? The text is wrong, but here you get some iron, a swamp key, some arrows, some other stuff. Here you get introduced to the bog witch spices, because you probably haven't done that. So it's trying to help encourage you to do other things. The boss chests give you items that lead you to new mechanics that you don't know about, etc., etc. Then we have the motor boss chest, and this one, this one's out of date, basically. The motor boss chest has to be reworked because I added dragon tears to Ether, which takes away the main benefit to doing the motor boss chest. So it was reworked. Now the motor boss chest allows you to fork paths. So it's actually a really big boss chest, but only in Enigma, right? So what is forking paths? Well, basically, players who've played Enigma, normally, you're used to paths that have to go in a certain direction. Makes sense? Like you start in the center of the world or wherever it is, and then there's 4 paths, each going out a different direction, right? And then if you keep going, they'll stop. Okay? This one just happened to stop on an island. That is really funny. These are an island with like RNG generation made by Ashenius. If you've never checked them out, oof. Ashenius's islands are really awesome. I like them. I think it's hilarious that the staircase went like bullseye, right? My point, and I will get to your comments, Barbara, by the way. I'm just trying not to derail myself by forgetting what I'm talking about here. My point is that if you've played on Enigma, you're used to these paths, and they build out in a certain direction. And if you were to follow the path all the way... One second. If you were to follow the path all the way, you would find that each 4 paths curves in like a spiraling pattern until it reaches the edge of the world, where it then terminates. Okay? But what if players could pick where the path went? Well, that's what forking is. Once you beat Motor Boss Chest, not beat Motor, sorry. Once you complete Motor's Boss Chest in Enigma 2 or Enigma 2.0, then you get a new ability called Fork. So you can say fork, right? And now it's telling me, oh, I can't make the fork because I have to be at least 300 meters away from the start temple. Okay? So let's humor it real quick. Let's actually continue the path forward here. And as you can see, the path also has a new design. So now it takes up 60% less instances. But let's keep going here. We need to get 300 meters away from the start temple. So if we run out far enough away that that tree vanishes, probably... Alright, probably I can fork now. So let's try. We're going to fork. Boom! Okay. What's going on here? Well, you'll find the motor boss chest, and once you complete it, you gain forking. So you can't do it until you do motor. But here's how it works. You say fork, and then this fork chest will show up, and it'll ask you for 3 piles of coin. Okay? So let's get our 3 piles worth of coin. Put them in the fork chest. And then boom! What happens? Look at that. You now have a path going in the direction you picked. Make sense? This is one of the things that's designed to add more kind of long-term playability, because each player could make their own path, even if they join a world that already has the paths fully completed. So forking is pretty cool. Once you fork once, you can't fork again until you get to be 200 meters away. And it doesn't care if you're on a main branch or if you're on a fork. You could actually make a fork and then make a fork off of the fork off of the fork, right? So players can definitely cause a lot of paths to be made this way, but I think it'll work out, and it helps replace some of that missing value, right? Because by adding dragon tears to Eikther's boss chest, I removed the incentive to do Motor's boss chest. So I figured this is a good way to replace it. That way, Motor's boss chest, yeah, you don't get the Motor's progression item, or at least if you get it, you don't care about it anymore. But you get forking, which is huge, because if you can pick the direction the path builds in, oof, that's a big deal. Way, way better than just having to deal with whatever direction it happened to build in from the beginning, right? So that's the thing I was trying to explain. Now, Barba, I can get to your comment. I wanted to take the time because you brought up a very interesting point. Barba Willow said, I stopped playing before Mistlands. I returned when Ashlands came out, I assume, and I enjoyed as a toddler all the new materials I had access to. For a builder, it was like a bag of free candy. You are so right, to be honest. And, like, that's one of my motivations for Enigma Mode, because, like, if you actually look at Valheim, the Ashlands added so many awesome weapons. Like, so many of them. But it's that same exact problem. By the time you get there, you're kind of tired of it. And there's no way, like, people don't really pick up the Valheim world from where they left off when they come back later. That's really rare. Valheim itself doesn't really encourage that. Most of the time, when you stop playing, you've stopped playing on that world, and then you'll come back on a new seed at some point. People are generally more inspired to start Valheim from the beginning than they are to keep playing an old world, and there's very good reasons for that. But I think it's kind of related to that. And as a builder, obviously, builders tend to really like Ashlands because most of the builders who play Valheim don't have to deal with the progression system because they're often like building and building competitions, using, you know, Devcommands to build and that kind of thing. So they get to practice and experience the glory that is the Ashwood build pieces and Grouston and all these things straight away from the very beginning, right? So maybe that's why builders tend to like the Ashlands patch, whereas average players tend to feel that Ashlands was yeah, you know, maybe this is just, you know, a controversial opinion. I don't know if that's true. From my perspective, I loved the Ashlands. Like, as a player, I didn't like it, to be honest. There were too many issues. But if I look at the assets, if I look at the artwork, if I look at the music, if I look at the models for all of the items and the different weapons and the gemming system and the special effects and the forts, it's awesome. The assets for Ashlands are awesome. It's just the timing and the lack of safety in the Ashlands is a big problem. Players need safety. They need a meadow to retreat into, and the whole end game of Valheim just doesn't give a shit about that. It thinks that you're gonna have fun just attempting to survive in a shitty situation. But, you know, most people don't like that a whole lot, right? You know, that's how it is. Barbara says, well, I did it the harsh way at first. De-landing on Ashlands, beach, and material grinding. But that was 2,000 game days and 30 buildings ago. Hey, I feel you. And so how did you feel about that experience, out of curiosity? Because I know a lot of people, like, they like the, how do I put it? They like the idea of the D-Day Ashlands landing experience. But then the reality of it doesn't taste so sweet, you know? Crumb says he's one of those players who likes the Ashlands punishment. Do you want to share more about, like, what parts of it you enjoy? That'd be good. I'd like to learn about that. Because I know it's not like everyone disliked the Ashlands. And like I said, I love the Ashlands itself. Like, the vibe, the biome, the beauty of it, everything in it is really cool. It's just the way the player interacts with the ashlands, I don't think is effective. But that's a whole other topic, to be honest. That's a whole other tangent I could go down. It might have to do with the fact that I play on no map, no portal, very hard mode, and like that's just how I prefer to play Valheim. So that makes like ashlands and the concept of getting there different. Right? So Shenanigans says, me too. And Barba says, oh, it was 15 minutes of enjoyingly stressful run fleeing from a horde of monsters until I realized those 3 piles glowing were spawners. Yeah. I mean, I like the ashlands. I don't dislike it. It's just the experience. It's like the presentation of it, the way it's presented to the player is a bit problematic. But I don't know. Really, it's cool hearing the things people enjoy. I learned from that, to be honest. I definitely do. Crum says, I think I like it because there are options. I can feel safe in a lot of places in Valheim, so having one place that totally humiliates me and gives me 0-second chances completes the experience. Yeah. I mean, but couldn't you also have that experience if the ashlands had like more safe zones? Couldn't you still have that experience? You know what I'm saying? Because like basically you can have that experience because you can put down a portal, right? And the portal can give you that feeling of going to safety that you need to appreciate the danger, right? So like this is something where like, as much as it pains my ego, probably portals make the game more approachable. In the case of the ashlands, definitely, right? I have to remember that I'm often thinking about it from the perspective of no map, no portal Valheim and very hard Valheim, which is already very niche, right? And like in no map, no portal, very hard mode, like you have to really use mechanics. You can't just like teleport somewhere and not sail, if that makes sense, right? Like in normal Valheim, you sail somewhere once and you can kind of get lucky, get good with the wind, not find any serpents. But in no map, no portal Valheim, like you get lost, like you're lost, buddy. You know what I mean? In some ways, I like that more. But I understand, like that's not for everyone. You know, ultimately, Valheim is a game that has a map and it has a GPS system and it has portals. That's how most people play. That's what most people expect. That's what most people are used to. So I need to remember that when I'm thinking, right? Because I take out the portals, and the portals are what gives the safety, right? So totally makes sense. That's why for me, it's more relevant for me to find a way to add the portals. Because like the way I look at it is that Valheim should be developed for no map, no portal, and people should have the ability to add portals and maps. Make sense? Like as a world modifier. Instead, it's the opposite. Valheim is developed for portals and maps. So the moment you use a world modifier to remove one of those, you completely change the game and it's no longer in balance. It now takes forever to find a boss, right? The game just wasn't designed around that. So that's why I've made it so there's loads and loads of boss altars in Enigma mode. You can just go to any plains, you're gonna find a Yuggoth boss altar pretty quick. Same thing with all the other ones, because instead of having 3 or 1 on each world or whatever it is, there's 10 or 15. So you just find them more easily. Let's see. Power of Truth says, get rid of the Morgans, and I would like the Ashlands more. Oh, in Vanilla Valheim. You don't like the Morgan, huh? I mean, I like the design of the Morgan, to be honest. I find most of the monsters in Valheim to be frustratingly easy to bypass. Like, most of them you can just, like, strafe around them clockwise, and they'll never hit you. And it's like, okay. They could just add a teeny bit of RNG and some numbers to make that not a thing, but anyway, that's another tangent, doesn't matter. Shenanigans says, I got to experience the Ashland's very hard combat for the first time simultaneously. It was brutal at first, but ultimately, through tenacity and tactics, I found a way to overcome it. Now it's the biome I look forward to the most. Hey, that's awesome. Honestly, I'm really glad you guys like it. That's great. Sometimes I'm more tuned to like random players and comments and stuff, right? And they do tend to be more frustrated or critical, so to speak. I've just been running down this path. So I am actually testing something right now, believe it or not, because I realized the way the forking system works, if you put a fork in the exact right place, you'll basically not have to pay, because the forks were designed, you have to pay for the stops when it goes further away from the center. But we're basically going in a circle around the center. I never like thought about that situation because I didn't like design originally for forks. So that may cause some kind of weird repetition loop issue, but I don't know. For now, I guess, since we've been talking about the Ashlands, I should go to the Ashlands. This version of Valheim that you're seeing has adjusted vegetation as well to reduce instance counts. So that's something I've been trying to redo. I'm trying to get it so that if you're in any area in the game and you're not near like a charred fortress or something big, that you have less than 2,000 instances. So we're at 1,600. Boom. Nice. Not bad, actually, especially considering there's one of these things right here. Also been working on some other systems to encourage players not to build. So see how it says consider building further away? And it's actually doing that twice. That means there's 2 locations near here that are like really high instance locations, right? So it's kind of annoying us a little bit with the idea that we'll notice if there's an area that we don't get that message. Makes sense? So let's go somewhere like further away from these things, because it's these cathedrals. These are what's blocking it right now. This area looks good. Let's test this area. All right, yeah, 1,200 instances. We build. Now it only says one time, consider building further away. I need to work on this. There we go. And there's no actual punishment for building that, by the way. It just does this so that the player can get a sense of like, okay, yeah, and you see now, like, I'm in an area with only 800 instances. The idea is to encourage players to end up building in places that start close to no instances, right? So like here, for example, this is a nice open spot, pretty good to build in, but it is actually got more instances because it's closer to this cathedral over here, right? So the player could still build here, but they're just going to have to deal with the fact that every time they place something, it says consider building further away. You know, it's just like a slight annoyance. And that's the idea with a lot of things in Enigma, is to try and encourage building, but also deal with Valheim's lag situations and its issues. Make sense? And Valheim has a lot of issues like that. I can't fix the multiplayer, but I can take the instance counts down to like, yeah, only 1,300, as opposed to what they would normally be in the Ashlands, which is a lot more than 1,300. Just to emphasize that point, let's log out real quick. Now I'll go log into an older generation world with actual vanilla generation. Oh, I don't even know if this is vanilla generation. Whatever. Just logging into another world, and I'm going to show you kind of how much of a difference you can make in the instance counts by changing the generation so it reduces less vegetation. And if you think about it, like Valheim's... Oh, this is a blank world. It hadn't even been enigma'd yet. This isn't going to work. That's funny. Well, what I was trying to show was that there's way less instances, but now if I actually do that, it's going to, yeah, it's going to use the new generation. So let me, I know what I'll do. I know what I'll do. Huh, cool. Cool Crescent Island start. I haven't seen that before. Let's go to some ashlands real quick here. So what you're about to see is the new ashlands that's been sparsified. So there's a couple things I've done to make the ashlands more approachable, whether you're on no map, no portal, whatever you play on. So let's see. All right, we got like 2,000 instances. All right, there we go. So this has okay, the vegetation generation. I guess if I had come here earlier, the vegetation would be fully vanilla, but because I didn't, this is probably modified? Not entirely sure, though. What I was trying to show is that you can change a lot about the number of instances in a biome without significantly reducing how the biome itself feels. Make sense? So this, for example, it's a little bit too high. Oh no, is it too... Yeah, it was that cathedral. Now it's back down to something reasonable. But the idea here... Wait, I was running around. That's funny. Oh no, I just switched world. I was like, was I running around without God that whole time? The idea I was trying to show is that in the ashlands, it's very combat focused. So I'm not trying to take that away. Rather, I'm trying to lean more into it so the player can have more combat in the ashlands without having as much lag and latency issues and problems like that, right? The issue in ashlands is pretty easy, to be honest. You can remove a lot of stuff and it still feels like the ashlands. I'm kind of going for a more open, kind of vacant feeling in general. I have a feeling that Valheim itself will just be more fun. You'll be able to play combat with your friends because there's only, 1,000 instances instead of 6,000, right? And like, the instance thing might not matter a whole lot to some people, but basically Valheim has really bad... Okay, how do I say this? Valheim multiplayer is not optimized for multiplayer. It is made for like 1 to 3 people in the same room playing on a world hosted by one of them. Okay, that's what it's made for. So when you start putting, 20, 30, or not even that many, when you start putting, 10,000, 15,000 instances in a loaded area and you have multiple players, you're literally making the multiplayer networking have to do a lot more work, and it's already a badly optimized system. So I can't change the networking, but maybe I can make the networking better by greatly reducing the amount of instances that go through it. I mean, that makes sense, right? I think that makes sense. And I don't know about you, but like, yeah, I know that rock is absurdly big. It looks a bit weird. But aside from that, I mean, does this look like an ashlands that I've removed 6/7 of? Like, can you tell that 6/7 of this whole biome was removed? I mean, someone who has a really keen eye and has spent a lot of time in the ashlands can probably tell. But most new players I've shown, they can't even tell. They're like, oh, you're in the ashlands. That's cool. Like, they don't even know. You know what I mean? But like, here, look at this. We're next to a super high instance location, right? And we're at 2,400 instances. Huh. Well, let me show you something. One little thing here. I'm going to corrupt my vegetation file real quick. Here we go. Let's just, you know, tab out the entire thing. That is going to make it so now it sees no entries, and it reloads the default vegetation data. Perfect. So, okay. You see this optimized ashlands, 2,400 instances. Now, let's just go... Oh, what's going on here? There we go. Froze the console there. Now, let's go to just a normal black forest. Nothing fancy. No fancy locations. We're just going to go directly into the middle of a black forest. And you can see why I think this instant thing might actually make a big difference for people. Ah, nice. All right. So here we are. We're in the Black Forest. We destroyed all my stuff. This is a fully vanilla Black Forest, right? Fully vanilla. Look at our instance count. 7,500. So basically, I'm pretty sure Iron Gate put way too many instances in the world for a multiplayer variant, to be honest. Like, basically, they make it... They emphasize the visual looks. They want it to look as nice as possible, and it works well in single player. Like, this looks like a big forest. I like how it looks. I like the kinds of clutters. Definitely. But look at the difference in instance count. If I just re-enable this file, and now what I'm going to do is, instead of being here, I'm going to go to some other black forest I've never been in that is just as, you know, big, so that the whole loaded area is black forest. And let's look at our instance count. Right now we're at 7,500. Look around. You see how the world looks. Lots of trees. Right? Now let's open the world up again. Let's go into another big black forest. This one looks fine. Nah, actually, let's find one that's even bigger. Just to prove my point even more. Here we go. That one's bigger. Let's go to the center of this one. But now, keep in mind, we've refreshed our file, right? Let's wait a minute. And then boom. Okay. Totally different in a way, right? Like, these trees are way bigger, right? But we're still in a black forest. It still feels like a forest, right? It's a little bit more open. Yeah. Got bears, various things, right? How many instances do you think this has? You want to guess? Based on what you see. Remembering that in vanilla, this spot would have approximately 7,500 instances. So it feels a bit vacant, right? Like things are missing. Let's see. We are at 2,100. Good guess, Captain Crumbs. Good guess. Yeah, so we have removed, in this case, more than 2/3 of the instances. But what's funny, actually, is I know from that instance count that there's an instance-heavy location near us. So probably we're next to a Diverger Bank or Stone Tower Ruin. So now let's go locations, list, zone, max distance equals 2. And what do we have? Oh, a bunch of locations nearby. Wow. That's actually really good for only 2,000 instances. So most of these instances are coming from the stone houses. And the Stone Tower Ruins. Probably Stone Tower Ruins 3, actually. So let's see. Let's go, let's go around a little bit here. I should be able to find another spot that isn't near heavy hitting locations. that actually has like less, maybe like 1,500, something like that. We'll see though. And the idea really, like, obviously at some point in the future I'll need to do like playtesting, but what I've been doing is just running around and getting a sense for the look of things, because in my head, if it looks 10% worse, but it performs twice as good, it's probably worth it. So I'm not trying to suggest that these improvements make it look better. I really do like how Vanilla Valheim looks, to be honest. It's all about the performance. So it's about tricking the player into feeling like nothing's changed or only a little bit has changed when actually a lot has changed. So here we have 3,000. I feel like this is too much, but probably that means we're next to a bank. Let's see, locations, list, zone. Oh no, I can just duplicate the previous thing. What am I doing? All right, yeah, there we go. We have a vulture nest, verger bank, 3 grey dwarf camps, a rune stone, 2 ruins, 2 stone house ruins, 2 troll caves, a crypt, and then 2 other ruins in the loaded zone. Considering we have all these locations, that's not that bad. But it's most likely the verger bank. That thing's a big instance hog. And it's a custom-made location, so I made that before I realized that instances matter to me now, right? But you can see how making the trees bigger helps make up for the fact that there's fewer, right? And, oh, Handy, for me it's the same. Like, Handy said, I personally don't like those realistic texture packs for Valheim. Makes it look like a 2000s game. Me as well, my friend. To be honest, I don't care about graphics anymore. Like, a young kid playing Valheim will tell you it has old graphics. It's like, holy shit. I don't even know how to deal with that mentality, to be honest. Like, for me, I had to buy a better laptop to play Valheim, and then I got a better computer again to play Valheim fully. Okay, so like for me, Valheim's graphics are not cheap. Like, I know that people like are used to brand new games and everything, but like Valheim is not a game you can run on an old potato PC. I mean, I know it's not like Crysis and it's not like a latest modern AAA game, but Valheim isn't a very performance-effective game, to be honest. It's a small game, it's simple, but when it comes to how it's actually coded and everything, it's not very optimized, to be honest. But it looks really good, and as you guys are saying, it's all about lighting and color. That's how I look at it. Like something Valheim does really well is it gives you a sense of identity based on the color patterns. So the Black Forest has a blue and red contrast, right? And depending on the time of day, it can be really intense or less intense. It changes. So you can see that going on here right now. And they did a great job with all that stuff, to be honest. I really do feel like Valheim as a game, like, if you look at Valheim and you just boil it down to the music, the prefabs, the art, it's really beautiful. I think it's very, very well done. It's just the way that players end up interacting with those assets ends up... Yeah, it's like, it ends up not carrying the beauty as much. Makes sense? So here we found a better spot, right? Like, this is like 1,000 instances. Now it's jumping up. Yeah, I must have just loaded a verger bank, probably. You know, this whole project has made me want to remake the verger banks so they're less intense, right? And you can see I added a few differences. Like, every now and then you'll find something you don't see, but not too much, right? That's the idea, at least. But for now, I think it's time for me to get back on topic here. And I'm gonna go... It's old world gen? That's funny. I can tell it's old world gen. just by looking at it. The new world gen, the plains have this like, they have these like rivery things that are darker. I'd show it on another map, but for now it doesn't really matter. I'm gonna go to just some random meadow. Make it all bright. Because I want to get at the original thing I wanted to work on. And I don't expect to ever, like, finish a project while narrating, while describing anything. I know that, like, the act of narrating is going to make it so that I don't progress really quickly. If that makes sense? But for now, I don't need to worry about it. We're just going to chill here. I'm going to repair my clothes real quick. Boom, 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 boom. And Barba said, if I could turn a wish for the game, it would be for the devs just hiring a really talented programmer that would carry the hard work and make the code really optimized. Yeah, I feel ya. I think you're right about that, to be honest. I could go on about how Iron Gate works. I don't really understand how they work, to be honest. The more I learn about the game, the more confused I become about its functionings. And like if you look at Tolroko and the history of it, why did somebody's passion project, why did the owner stop making videos after years of making content, and then a year later, boom, Valheim explodes and nothing is heard from the owner? It's like, my impression, if I had to guess, is that the original mind behind Valheim got burned out. It wasn't yet popular. People weren't playing. He moved on to something else. And then Coffee Stain or whoever, or however it works, picked up Valheim, and then it became super popular. But at that point, he'd already moved on. Valheim was his past. That's... I don't even know how to explain it, to be honest. I don't know how to explain the reality of how slow it develops, how they say in interviews that you can't do something that already exists in their game files, that already happens. Like, boom. You want to see something? Look at this. Oh, do I have Infinity Hammer on? No. Ah, okay, that's fine. Location. Register. Dev house 4. Locations reset. Zone course start. Okay. Is this the right house? No, I made the wrong house. 1 second. Oh, now I'm stuck. There we go. Okay. I know this is... I'm gonna get to the point in a moment, but first... let's find the right house. I made the wrong house. Locations. Location, register. Is it Dev House 5? Dev House 3? Ayo, yeah, here we go. This is the right house. Alright. Okay, so watch this. Watch this. Okay. If you want, you can listen to interviews with the staff. There is an interview where they are asked about the storage size of the Drakkar, right? And they basically say that they can't make it bigger because it would pass 1 chest size or something like that. Basically, they say that it's hard to make it bigger, right? Ah, I just realized I have scripts running that are going to mess this up. 1 second, 1 second. Sorry, I have a script that's replacing this, and it's going to ruin the point of what I'm about to show you. Where? I'm looking in the backups. Bigger. Ah, here we go. Nice. Okay, so now I need to find the black metal. There we go. And we're just going to tab this real quick. Save it. Undo it. Alright, now I need to go register this again. I think you're very right, by the way, Barbara. Barbara says, because they're good game developers, but they're not so good programmers. A good programmer will squeeze to the last drop of performance of code, but will make a game soulless. And once you have in hand a very big project that it's not your own child, if you're not a really good programmer, you miss a lot of details into why things are done. So they keep developing a very good game, but that suffers on its own internal cogs. Very well said. Very, very, very well said. I honestly, yeah, I completely agree with you. Basically, okay, there's interviews where they say that you can't make the chest bigger or that there's problems if you do or something. Look at this. In their game, there is a location. And if you look at that location, it resized the chests. Damn it. I picked the wrong one here. Oh, wait, no. Why did this get reworked? Okay, so in vanilla, if you open this, it is a scroll bar chest. But now I feel like I gotta actually... Here, okay, I'm gonna show it. It'll prove your point that basically there's things in the game already that they don't know about. Or at least they forgot about. Which is... I don't know what to say about that. So let's see, I need to remove... Where's Expand World Prefabs? Where are you? Where are you, EWP? Oh yeah, I'm blind. Okay, so now I launch again. Yeah, so this is what I'm trying to explain, Crumbs. Basically, you don't need a mod to add scrolling to the inventories in Valheim because it's already built in. So that's why, like, I don't know why they say that it's hard because it's not. It's already done. But I need to show it in a way that visually makes sense. But it's just like Barbara said, to be honest, and that situation helps explain, because what I've observed with Valheim in general, it's like Iron Gate is afraid to change things. Does that make sense? Like, they seem to be very hesitant. Like, and they sometimes they'll change things and then they roll back their changes. You know, they made the Ashlands intense and rolled back the intensity. They made a shield generator that explodes and rolled it back and got rid of it. There's a lot of things they do that they just get rid of. They don't like them, whatever reason. So from my perspective, they're an what? I don't want to generate a new world. I'm not trying to make a new world. No. Just trying to load an existing world. I guess I can do this one. Yeah, exactly. Grow that to hundreds of thousands of lines and you find landmines in every change you make. Yeah, exactly. Barbara said, back in university, I had to completely rewrite the base code professors provide to build upon for the practices. I just take less time doing that than trying to understand others' code. Yeah, exactly. Oh, it's funny. So what I'm trying to show you is that there's already places in the game, in vanilla, that have scroll bars. Yet, in interviews, they have said that that's not a thing. Make sense? So what I'm going to do... Go here. Location, register, dev house. What is it? Dev house 3, I think it was, right? Dev house 3. Gonna run away this time. But now I'm wondering, maybe Maybe you have to place it with Infinity Hammer for it to show up that way? I don't know. Let's see. It was actually really weird. It didn't show up like I was claiming in the previous situation. Yeah, it doesn't... Ah, I see. So when you register the location, it's not the same. Ah, I get it now. Okay, okay. All right. So in order to actually show my point, the only way to even notice this then is to use Infinity Hammer, which is quite interesting because it shows that they have the data set in a way that they wouldn't see, which might explains why they didn't mention it. Oh. Yeah, right. So the conclusion is that Iron Gate needs the 10-cent beauty treatment. Lots of funds to improve, but under the surveillance of a communist commissar. Yeah. I mean, to be honest, that's... I think you made a good point, actually, because when I first played Valheim and it got popular, one of my guildmates was like, look, don't get excited about this game. Anytime a game gets really popular and gets a lot of money, the devs don't know what to do, and they fuck off, and they don't fix the game. And I was like, that's really judgmental. Looking back. Shit. He was sort of right. You are right, though, Captain Crumbs, and I can get into why you're right. Captain Crumbs said, maybe there's something else that breaks if they try to use the scrolling that they're unwilling to fiddle with. You're right. I already found what breaks, and it's not the scrolling. But I'll explain that in a moment. So basically, if you register and spawn this location using Upgrade World, like I just did, all of these signs lose their data. You just see these blank signs, right? And then the chest looks like a normal chest. But looky here. If I use Infinity Hammer to spawn the location that exists in the game files, right? So I go Hammer, then Location, and then I go Dev House 4, right? Okay, so now I can spawn this Dev House. Oh no, Dev House 3. Sorry, wrong one. Should be two of them next to each other. There we go, just like that. We're gonna spawn it right there. Give us some daylight, and now what's going on? Why are these houses dotted? What is this? Why is it the same? I swear the sign said like swamp, and I just showed this to Dakar like a week ago. Why are the signs all mislabeled? Am I spawning the wrong dev house? Maybe it's the wrong dev house. One second. Let me see this. Bum 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 bum. There we go. Dev house 3. Yeah, what the hell? The chests are empty, and there's no items in them. Why did it... What? I'm so confused. What is different? Yeah, right? Exactly. Yeah, each landmine. Okay, I mean, I can show it literally, like, okay, this is how it loaded before. The chests are as if they have a player base in them already. They're filled with random assortments of items, and they're labeled, and you can see the fucking scroll bar, right? You see that scroll bar, it's right there. So now what's happening is I'm trying to show you. No, there's been no update, so there's no way it changed. It's just something about how I'm spawning the data in this situation is getting rid of like the names on the signs and the data of each chest. So therefore you just get the unclaimed and the unpopulated default. So like I I don't know how to explain why DevHouse 3. Maybe it's one second. Let me try something else. Hammer, location, DevHouse 3, all. Is that it? Why did it spawn like that? So weird. Is it because of the biome I'm in or something? And wait, what? Why did this reset? Wait, what? Oh, no, because I reset it. I did locations reset. Okay, that makes sense. I'm so confused, though. But anyway, what I was getting at, and you're all right, by the way, it's definitely like Valheim became too much. They lost the ease of fiddling with it. Maybe? I don't know. But basically what happens is this. If you store a lot of items in a chest, let's say, for example, I'm going to make this house again. Let's say I make it. And then let's say I were to increase this and add a bunch of items to it, right? If you, let's say, added 100 rows and you filled them all up with items, then basically your chunk cannot save. It will corrupt the chunk. So that's what I think they might be referring to, the fact that if you put too many items inside of a boat or a chest, it will cause save corruption. However, for that to happen, you have to do a lot more than just double the size. You have to do more than triple the size. You have to like 10 to 20 times the size and fill it up with a bunch of stuff for that to happen. So I don't think that's what they were referring to. I think it's more like what Barbara said, that probably the original mind or team or whatever produced it in a certain way, but then later on, they lost track of that work. So that would be exactly what happens in the situation Barbara described, where a new team or new people come in and they have to pick up from where an old team left off, but they don't know what to do, right? Yeah, as Captain Crumb says, I guess they kind of suffer from success, like Bethesda. Bethesda turned into a studio that's afraid to make new games. Yeah. I mean, I think with Iron Gate, it's different. They want to make new games. Like, if you listen to the interviews, they want to get this done, right? Like, they talk about moving on, and they talk about like working on their other games when they get home from work. You know? Like, those are the kind of sentiments people make when they want to move on. They're fed up. They're done with it. You know what I mean? So, like, sometimes I feel frustrated with Iron Gate because I can tell, like, they don't believe in their own game and its future. And it's really hard to, like, I mean, when the developers of a game aren't publicly gung-ho about it, ugh. Ew. You know what I mean? Like, it's rough. I don't know. Maybe I'm just misinterpreting their interviews. Maybe someday I'll be able to interview them and they'll be all excited. I don't know. We'll see. Barba said, 15 years ago, SCS had to decide if to keep piling crap code over what they had or build it properly. They chose the second, took them years, and almost got bankrupt. Luckily for them, they didn't. Yeah, I mean, that's always if you can survive redoing it properly from scratch, it's definitely worth doing. I mean, there's a couple times I went through, like, all the Enigma scripts and, like, just, like, I noticed that, like, when you're learning, you'll do things in a certain way. And, like, later on, once you're talented, it's going to be faster to just remake it from scratch than to try and pick up where you left off and, like, make it all work right. You know what I mean? And yeah, I think you're right, Crumbs. They have kind of moved on in a way. Yeah. And especially, like, with statements like there's going to be no major update after 1.0. Oh, they break my heart, to be honest. They really do. My heart wasn't so broken, to be honest. I was more, let's say, pro Iron Gate until that Ask Me Anything questionnaire earlier this year. That thing broke my heart. Like, really, I'm not gonna lie. I definitely, like, I was fine. And then I saw that, and the way they answered the questions was so, like, damn. Damn. Like, it's so weird, because in my experience with gaming, companies purchasing games ruins them. But I find myself in a situation where, hey, look, you can actually see him. That's funny. I find myself in a situation where I have a weird feeling that if a company were to buy Iron Gate or buy Valheim, that the game would get better. I don't want to say that. Even saying that, it feels, it feels wrong. You know, like when Disney buys something, your game's fucked. Your game's over. It's gone. You know, when these big companies buy, when Activision Blizzard or Activision buys your company, you're gone. Your games are gone. You are now a marketing slave, right? But I feel like Iron Gate, like they've given up. Like they don't care. They don't want to do it. I don't know what to say. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm not wrong, but that bleeds into the game, it bleeds into the culture, it bleeds into how people feel, you know? It's, yeah, it's crazy. That's also a good point, too. Minecraft also didn't get destroyed by Microsoft. That's a good point. I know, I mean, I know, I hate Microsoft, to be honest, and I hate Windows. I hate the way that they develop. I hate how they lie. I hate how they treat people. I dislike Bill Gates. I don't like his opinions. I don't like his life, the way he lives, the way he spends his money, the people he spends his time with. You know, but that being said, I'm also under the impression that Microsoft did not ruin Minecraft. And they actually made it more accessible to people. And in general, Minecraft players are quite happy, right? I have a feeling if anything were to happen with Iron Gate, like, or with Valheim, it's either the community or Iron Gate's gonna sell Valheim to someone. But like, why would they do that? You know what I mean? Like for money, but like who's gonna view, what big company, what big publishing company is gonna view some like niche, forgotten survival crafting, building, exploration game as a potential for loads of money? Like they do that for MMOs and like things that are already super popular or viral or big, right? Valheim never really was. Valheim happened because of the COVID pandemic. But if it wasn't for the COVID pandemic, like maybe it would have stayed a niche game until it got developed and then released. You know what I mean? Like COVID changed everything. It fundamentally altered the world, right? So maybe that changed. But at this point, you know, I'm just theorizing. It's all just random stuff. I don't even understand why this chest thing happened. But it was a good timing. And like, all I know is that when I spawned these last time, they had their data. Like, the buildings had their data, I swear. That's why it's so confusing. What? And also, all the chests had items in them. But now they're just spawning blank. So weird. Is it based on the biome I'm in? Because I spawned them, I was in the plains. That's where this originally happened. And yeah, I didn't put these items in the chest. They were just there. So weird. Hammer, let's see. I'm gonna recreate what I did the first time. I did hammer location, and then I started looking through the dev houses. But I didn't find the dev house at first. I started with dev forge, right? So we go hammer. Let's make it not rainy. Okay. Okay, so this is like just like a custom location that's in the game that the developers use, but it doesn't actually get placed. Okay, it's called dev forge. So here we go. We have our dev forge, and now, okay, I see what's happening. Something I had set up before Like, these chests aren't labeled. They don't have anything in them. Like, that's not what was happening before. So something is different about my setup. Like, maybe I have a different toggle set for Infinity Hammer or something. Could be something about data in blueprints. The fueling just destroying everything. It's funny. Let's see. Oh, wait a second. I see some error messages. What are these? Interesting. Is that every piece in the location is missing end view? That might explain why the data is not there, because something is wrong here that then makes the data not get applied. Okay, but what is wrong? I think I know what's wrong. Okay. Here's what I need to do. I just disabled some basic stuff here, but I still have all these other commands, all this other mods. Who knows what's going on here? So let's just fix this real quick. I'm going to re-enable these things here. And then I'm just actually going to change my profile. And I'm going to use the profile that I probably did it in. Or do I use a brand new profile? I guess I should make a new one. That's probably smarter. At this point, it's not even that important, to be honest. But I just want to show that there are actually things in their game that have a scroll bar. It just, for some reason, the way I loaded it just did not work. So I need Infinity Hammer. And just to be clear, the reason you need Infinity Hammer is because you can't... I know you can spawn a location without... Maybe if I just spawn it in the vanilla way, maybe that'll do it. But I didn't do that when it worked. And I have the freaking screenshot. I know that this happened, right? And I have quality of life mods running there. Ooh. Yeah, the Schrodinger house, right? But so, Barba, you make some very good points, and I wanna give you a counter for what Iron Gate could do, and basically what any game development studio should do. That has in basically, I learned this through how I develop, because I don't develop things by looking at Valheim's code. I don't change any of Valheim's code. Make sense? Yet I'm still able to learn about things, look in the game files, do all that stuff, because I don't have to look at all that extra stuff. It frees up my cognition to focus on these things. There's one reason I can do that, and it's something Iron Gate themselves don't have. I'll elaborate more on that in a little bit, but first, let's see if this is any different here. Okay. Get my God mode. Now, location. Locations. Wait, what? Oh, no. Hammer, location. Dev, house 3. Okay. Now. There we go. I don't know what it is. You see it. Material. You see it. Now they have their labels. Thank you. I don't know what I was doing wrong. Must be a config or something. Alright. Now I can make the point that I was making. You see, everything has its label. Look at this. Normal black metal chest. Look at this. Normal black metal chest. What about this one? Normal black metal chest. What about this one? Also normal. But now, look at this black forest and swamps chest. What do we have here? A fucking scroll bar. I don't know what to tell people. I don't know. So it just proves your point, Barba, that the team working on Iron Gate is too compartmentalized. They don't have a good sense of the game as a whole. the asset creation is amazing. The music is creation. The music is amazing. Art style, all this stuff is great. It's just the way it's put together is problematic, right? So as you can see, there is in the files a house that has a scroll bar. It's not made up. I didn't make it up, I swear. But I'll end with this one lesson that I've learned from Expand World Prefabs. Okay, everything I've learned is basically made possible because of this. Expand World Prefabs. Okay? This is what Iron Gate is missing. See, the problem with Iron Gate is they have to develop things raw. They don't have a scripting system to test things out to decide if they want to do them. So in order for them to make a decision, they have to spend a lot of resources. In order for them to test an idea, they have to spend a lot of resources. And in order for them to implement a mechanic, they have to be absolutely certain that they will not remove that mechanic. This is why they are slow. Ultimately, that's why. If they had an internal EWP, then they would only change things that they know because they already scripted them, tried them, made them. Like, just for reference, I can make a script like, let's look at an example script. Okay. Enigma Mode. This is arguably the most complicated script I've ever worked on, right? And it is like, I don't know, 6,000 something lines, right? It has a lot of copy pasting though. So, you know, take that with a grain of salt. And EWP script length is irrelevant. It like doesn't matter. You could make a 2-line script that crashes the server or a 10,000 line script that runs fully smooth, because it doesn't matter how long your script file is, because it's only loaded like when the prefabs are loaded, so it doesn't get like reloaded over and over and over again. Basically, what I'm getting at is that this is what Iron Gate is missing. Look, let's say that I have a chest, okay? Let's say that I want to place this chest. All right? What Iron Gate does, edits things, as far as I know, by messing with, they have like a version and they work within Unity editor and they do it that way, right? What I'm proposing that would be better as a game development studio is to have an internal scripting setup. And you actually, like a lot of really well-known games have internal scripting engines. Like a game like Fallout's quests exist because of a scripting engine that the developers used to allow the non-programmers to create quests, okay? So as a game development studio, you have to have an in-house scripting engine that allows you to produce ideas really fast so that you can test them. That way, you implement fully only what you have already tested. That way, you're not gonna have to remove something because you tested it in the scripting language that's really fast, and you realized, it's not really worth it, so then you don't do it. You didn't develop anything in the long way. You only did it in the scripty, short, quick, fast way. Make sense? That's what Iron Gate is missing. And the reason I can supposedly make so much progress on Enigma, move so quickly, develop so fast, make a change log that's like this, like Expand World Prefabs Enigma Mode, hooray! Now if we just find this, all right, let's look at the changelog. All right, I launched Enigma Mode like a month and a half ago, right? Since then, okay, 1.1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Another big update. Big update. Medium update. Big update. Huge update, actually. Big update. Big update. Okay, so, like, this is possible with one person who doesn't even have enough time to do it full time. Okay, that's because it's scripting. It's so much faster. You don't need to be a programmer. You don't need to code. You just learn how to script in that specific game, and you can test ideas really quickly. And so then you can make a boss chest. Then we can take this, right? We can go data, dump, equals, you know, whatever. Let's say this is going to be script chest, okay? And now we can just go into our text editor, right? We can reload our little data thing here. Go to the bottom of this file. Script test. Script. Wait, where did I put it? Whatever. The point is, this is the chest. Here's its fields. And you're like, oh, you know what? I want chests to be bigger. It's currently what? It has 2 rows and it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns. Well, look at that. There's a 2 and a 5. What happens if we change this to a 10? Boom. Now we just go data, load, equals, script chest. And boom, look at that. Suddenly we have more storage space. Whoa. That's what I'm getting at. Scripting is so fast. It's live, like right in front of you. You can imagine something, and as long as you're not adding a new prefab to the game, you can script to quickly identify a system, and then you can get players playing that system. You can get play testing. You can figure out exactly what all the numbers need to be, what all the drop rates need to be, how big the containers need to be, how much health the monsters need to have. You can play test all of it, balance all of it, before you've even done any actual long format development. Because Iron Gate doesn't have this, and they don't do this, they're doomed. Because if you think about it, if Valheim from the beginning was this, then anybody coming in afterwards, they can just practice with new scripts. They don't need to actually change the game yet. And there's a whole lot that they can do. Make sense? And you're completely right, Barba. I want to just end on that point that all Iron Gate really needs to do is hire a Unity developer that has experience with Unity, like 3 years, 4 years of experience, and then have that person focus on making things efficient. That's it. And even when it comes to their networking, at least Yair told me this, and I trust Yair. He really knows what he's doing. He's a really good coder, probably the best programmer I've ever interacted with. Yair is like very talented. He moves very quick, very organized, really experienced. He told me that if Iron Gate hired a seasoned Unity developer who had 3 or 4 years of experience, they could rework Valheim's networking in as little as 6 months. And like, Yair doesn't exaggerate. He doesn't say extra words. He doesn't speak hyperbolically or with flowery language. Does that make sense? He's very punctual, very... So if he says something, I take it as true, even if I don't believe him. Make sense? So just to end on that note, I think you're right, really. A lot of these things show that, like, something about the programming element is behind, you know? So maybe someone is in that position but feels prideful. You know what I mean? Like, they don't want someone else to do it because they're supposed to do it. But, I mean, I'm not saying they're a bad programmer. I don't know anything about that. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that, like, once you get a bunch of money and you're working in Unity, if this project is what has given you your Unity experience, you're better off hiring someone who has lots of experience to help you. Right? Seems logical. But for whatever reason, hasn't happened in that situation. So who knows? Who knows, you know? It is what it is, I suppose. Yeah, I mean, so Crumbs said, yeah, the networking needs to be fixed. It's just weird they haven't done it already. Man, it's weird they don't even emphasize it. They literally say in interviews that's not going to happen, you know? So, it is what it is. Anyway, what I'm going to be doing, basically, wait, where'd it go? Here it is. What I'm going to be doing is working on this variant thing here. As I showed you earlier, basically, players need something linear they can track them, so they can get into, so to speak, right? So, yeah, I disabled everything. That's right, that's right. So I need to give them a more clear sense of their progression while they're playing Enigma mode. So they can just log on and be like, oh, I've done 3 of the 6 things, or whatever, right? And then I can make it so once they kill the boss, it turns into a star. Ooh, something little like that. So they're going to get this visual tracking system for when they join. But anyway, at this point, I've brainstormed enough. I've chatted. I know what to do for the YouTube, and I know what to do for Enigma. I just got to see what happens. Starting next week, I'll do 2 live streams instead of 3, and I'll do my tutorials. Instead of trying to make the tutorials for this week, I'm just going to accept I'm not making any tutorials this week. I'm making tutorials so that by the time next week starts, I already have tutorials scheduled. I need to get ahead of myself, and I think that might be why I'm feeling sad, because I'm realizing, like, for this to work, I can't just be making a tutorial and then publishing it that day because I'm behind. I have to make a bunch of tutorials, edit them, and then schedule them out so that, okay, today is today, but the YouTube channel is publishing tutorials for the next 7 days. And that gives me time to make the tutorials and then schedule them. So I should always be a week ahead, or ideally like 2 weeks ahead of the tutorials. That seems to be the thing to do, but we'll see what happens. So Barba says, me neither. Can't say they're bad programmers if my level is infinitely worse, but they don't have the level for optimizing. Optimizing is always the most time-consuming, least rewarding, and most difficult task. Very well said. Are you a writer? It sounds like you know how to write. That's why we are surrounded by so many crappy software. Nobody wants to do that work. Yeah. And optimizing in real-time programs like video games is especially tricky. Yeah. I mean, especially because, Leo, when you optimize, it's not like... It's hard to visualize the progress for the players. You know what I mean? And, like, that's what's so weird about Iron Gate. It's so hard to actually understand how they feel. That's why I'm just theorizing about them. Like... Really, like, I mean, I can talk about Iron Gate, but I don't know them, until I actually speak with them. Like, I could just be full of shit. I could be completely wrong. And I have a lot of respect for them, like, individually as people. I remember they're humans and everything. But also I understand, like, that goes both ways. You also have to have respect for the players who are also people. And there are millions and millions and millions of players. And there are literally millions of people who've gotten bored of Valheim and are fed up with it. So, who do you want to help? You know what I mean? That's the problem with empathy. Like, it's good to be empathetic, but oftentimes when you hear people claiming they're being empathetic, they're actually just being empathetic to one specific circumstance that is like them. You know what I mean? Whereas if you actually take a step back and you look at the whole picture, suddenly they're not empathetic to everybody. It's like, wait, what? What do you mean? Anyway, all right, that's it for today. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you all on Friday. I'll be doing a development thing that I'll probably actually show the development of, because this time I ended up talking and I wanted to talk about YouTube, and the actual development of the things I was showing you is pretty boring because it's just a lot of text. But next time, it's going to be something more interesting. I'm going to make a system that you die, your tombstone's there, but if you don't get your tombstone in 2 weeks of real life time, it's going to turn into a treasure chest. Is that important? I don't know. But it's what I feel motivated to do. So that's what I'll be working on. All right, everybody. Have a great week. I hope that you have a decent rest of the week and the weekend comes quick. Have a good one. And thanks for the raid earlier, by the way. Thanks for watching, Captain Crumbs. I really appreciate that. Today, honestly, out of all the days for more people to watch the stream and listen to me, it was the perfect timing. I needed a little motivator there. So, thank you. Honestly. Bye-bye.